Hi, Dr. Cloud. I can't believe I'm talking to you. This is so
Why
exciting, and I'm
can't
so
you
nervous.
believe it? Why can't you believe it?
I I have
You
just
dialed a number,
read your
somebody
book
answered, and here we
and
are.
heard you. I know. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. Thank you for taking my call.
You're very welcome. How can I help you?
My question is I grew up in a home that was very negative and
Wait a minute. Hold
critical.
on a second.
Um,
Hey, hold on, Jenny. I got a question for you.
yes,
Do you believe that? Do you believe that I might be helpful? I don't know what problem you're going to talk about. Do you believe that I might be helpful in some way?
I know you will.
You
I'm
do.
110% confident. Yes.
You know what? You sound like a really positive person to me. Look at that
Well, that's because
optimism.
I have faith in what you do because I've experienced it.
I'm cheating on you right now, right?
Yes, I do. I
Okay,
do.
now I gotta let the audience in on this a little bit.
Okay.
Not all the time, but sometimes the callers will tell Albie a little bit about what they're calling about, and and this is what I got on my screen. Jenny's calling me from Texas, and she wants to know how long does it take to become a positive person. And so I just said, well, it sounds like you got a lot of positivity going on right now. So what's the problem, Jenny? Why don't you? That's what I'm kidding about. Okay, so tell me the issue. Why do you think you're a negative person?
I think it's a learned behavior. I'm no psychologist. I just growing up, I saw my dad, I saw his family look in every situation it was like automatically the glass is half empty. And
Yeah.
so I realized when I moved out that, oh my gosh, I do that now too. And then I met other people that look at the
Good
glass
for
half
you.
full, and I'm like, I want to be like them. But
Good
then
for you.
when situations happen, the frustrating part is I still tend to go back to that learned behavior and I look at it half empty. And I'm
Okay,
like
what do you
drawn to
do?
people
What do
that
you
are
do?
positive.
What do you do when that happens in the
I
moment?
I tend to get negative, and then I that takes me down a bad spiral. Like I think of all the bad things that could happen, and I don't want
Okay,
to be
so
like
have
that anymore. So,
good. Have you ever? What have you done to change this?
well, my relationship with God, and going to church, being a part of a Bible study, surrounding myself with people that are more positive. Um,
Okay, that'll
but I
start
guess
it.
I want to know. I want to know how long is it going to take for me for that to be automatic for me because it's not automatic yet, and I'm frustrated with that.
Well, what you just listed. Okay, you're going to church. You're surrounding yourself with people. You're talking to God. Okay, all those are
Hmm.
good
Yes,
things.
sir.
But all of those things, I'm so glad you called. Have you listened to the show from the beginning today?
No, sir. I was on YouTube just randomly and saw that you were live and clicked on it, and it had already started.
How about that? All right. Now I want you to go back and listen to it, but I'm going to give you a quick recap here.
Okay.
You are 100% illustrating what I was talking about earlier day. Here we got the motivation, and you've actually got the awareness of the problem and the awareness of what you'd like to do. You would like to run into an event, right? Get some news or see this happening or something happens or you hear this or somebody doesn't respond to an email or somebody frowns at you or the check doesn't
Yeah.
come in the mail or something, and you would like to have your brain work in a different way. It says, oh, well, they must be busy, or, don't know what the problem is. Whatever the problem is, we're going to be able to solve it, or some kind of way of thinking that we know happy people think this way. We know this. And we know depressed and anxious people think the other way, right?
Exactly.
So you know all
Exactly.
this. But what I
Yes,
said
sir.
was, in addition to knowing all this and things you decided, there's got to be something in the moment that makes you aware of, there it is. I'm doing it again. And instead of that, I'm going to do this. And you've got to deliberately practice, be triggered and reminded to deliberately practice the new way of thinking in that moment times a billion. And as you continue to do it over and over and over and over and over and over, then it's going to get relegated to the lower regions of the brain where it's going to become automatic. It's so interesting. It's so interesting to it's so interesting to see this in business. Like, I do a lot of consulting with businesses and CEOs and executives and teams and all that. It is so interesting. You sit around a table and let's just say a distribution line shuts down or closes. That's not going to be available to them anymore. You'll have two executives sitting in the meeting where this news comes in. And one of them goes, "Oh crap, we're going to lose all of our revenues from the quarter. It'll take us, we can't." And the one sitting right next to him goes, "Oh my gosh, this is a great opportunity," because they see all sorts of things opening up. The same news.
Right.
The same news. And here's what we know. There's a famous study from some of you who've never heard me talk about this. So, Jenny, have you ever heard me talk about the MetLife study from, I think it was the 70s? Do you know about that?
No, I have not. I haven't.
It's exactly what you're talking about. Metropolitan Life did a research study along with, I think Martin Seligman might have been the psychologist behind that. He's written about it a lot. They did a study where they hired over 1,000 new sales agents for their insurance. But this particular group that they hired, they intentionally loaded the group with half of them flunked the aptitude test to be able to understand insurance and sell insurance. They would not have hired them. They would not have hired them. They just didn't have it upstairs. All right. But they hired them and they put them in this group. They wanted the ones that, weren't as smart, basically. Then the other half of the group were the ones that scored the highest. They had all the brains in the world. All right. You with me so far?
Yes, sir.
There was one secret difference because they had given them a bunch of tests. The not so smart group scored high on positive thinking and optimism. The really smart group were like your dad. And they were kind of negative and saw the glass as half empty. Guess what happened when they sent them out in the field to sell insurance? Guess what happened? The not very bright group that were positive thinkers, you ready for this? They outsold the smart guys by 53%. What if your income went up by 53%? Just because you had different thoughts going through you. That's what we want. So how are you going to do that? You're going to get triggers. And do you have my program? Did you go to my online webinar on overcoming anxiety?
I didn't. I did the one. I just went through a divorce. I did the one on overcoming divorce, but I probably should have.
Okay. All right. Well, you're going to go through the one on overcoming anxiety, and also the one on overcoming depression, because I'm going to gift it to you right now. You talk to Albie and give him your information, because in both of those, I have very specific outlined ways. You know what? Also, I want you to look at the New Year's resolutions one. Get all the three of those. Tell Albie to give you all three of those. Because I have very outlined ways. I want you to work the program.
Okay.
That will change your thinking, and that'll change this problem. And that will change a lot of things if you do that, because we know from research. Do you know that people have happy marriages? Do you know that they tend to, almost in a denial sort of way, skew their spouse into seeing them in a positive light? versus other people have exactly the same behaviors from their spouse, but they are critical, see it in a negative light. Exact same marriages. One of them's happy, one of them's not, because of what you're talking about.
That's very interesting.
Very interesting. So give me one area where you see this glass half empty dominating your life.
Well, just yesterday, I'm getting ready to move out, and I'm trying, excuse me, to decide if I want to buy a house because the market's so grand right now, they say, or get an apartment because I just went through a divorce, and I didn't hear back from either people, the real estate agent or the apartment complex. And so I did exactly what you said. I started to get depressed and think, okay, well, maybe this isn't what God wants me to do. I went down that whole train of everything was bad.
Show me the train. What God doesn't want me to do this. God doesn't want anything from me. Can't ever find. What does it sound like to live in your head?
Nothing good is ever going to happen. I'm just going to keep having, trial after trial. Yeah, I know this is making me stronger, but it's such a heavy load to carry. I don't want to carry this load anymore. I want to be happy like my other friends. And will I ever be happy like them? Will I ever get to a good
Jenny, let me just give you one example. All right. You ready?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
That realtor doesn't call you back, right?
Yes.
You know what? I know God is for me. He must be protecting me from something. I'm glad she didn't call me back because she was probably going to steal from me. Now let's go find the next one that he has for me. That's how a positive person. Same thing.
I love that.
Right?
I love that.
Dating. I'll give you another example. I'll talk about this on Wednesday in the dating thing. One of the women that I took through the program early on, I actually brought her on our radio show when I was on New Life Live, and we're going to chronicle her path because she hadn't had a date in 3 years and she was stuck, and she was awesome. She was so interesting and fun, such a good person. I go, this is ridiculous for you not to have a date for 3 years. We're going to fix this. So I brought her on the show. We took her through the program. Well, I got to do her wedding. With Steve Artimer and John Townsend and I did her wedding because we had taken her through the program on the show. We got to do her wedding 1.5 years later. Now remember, and she hadn't had a date in 3 years. I remember I brought her up on a stage, I think it was in Cincinnati, brought her up on a stage and said, all right, you just got engaged. And, we talked about her whole process. I said, what number was he? So she joined some dating apps, right? And she's going through all the, meeting people and all this. She pulled it up on her phone and she scrolled through. Guess what number he was of the people that she connected with, and, and she was going through this process. People not responding, people, bad date, didn't go well, got ghosted. Guess what number he was? I'll tell you. He was number 64.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Now, if she's a negative thinker, I was working with somebody else. After 3 bad dates, she goes, well, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. This online dating is come on. Perseverance.
I can understand that. So for us people that struggle this way for motivation and to help us with perseverance, is there like a time frame that you think that, this could become an automatic if we really work at it and I apply the great things that I'm going to learn in your programs?
I don't want to answer that question because it's so varied. Okay. But I'm going to give you some of, and don't anybody stick to this, because there's so much variance in this for so many people. and a lot of reasons it can be a lot faster. But you'll often hear it quoted that it takes 21 days to change a habit. Okay,
Yes.
there's just nothing to back that up, other than people say it
Okay.
all the time. Okay, what seems to be a little more research backed. I haven't looked at this in a while, but it's something in the 80 something day range. Now that's if you're really, really practicing something. So it's all about practice. It's all about the repetitions. So my answer to you, how long? Why the hell does it matter? Because no, seriously, what are we talking about here?
No,
Hang on. Well, hold on a second. What are we talking about? What you're talking about is I want to start to think positively. Okay, well, if we're going to start that today, practicing it, you're going to do that for the rest of your life. So who cares if it becomes automatic after 20 days or 80 days? This is what you want to do the rest of your life anyway. So why does it matter? We're going to start today.
very true.
Very true. All right. Go give Albie your information. Get those two webinars. They're on my website. Anybody can find them. Go to boundaries.me and look on the workshops section. The goals one, the anxiety one, and the depression one are the ones I want you to look at. Okay.
Thank you,
You
sir.
have asked a great question, Jenny. Thank you for. Was I helpful?
Very much so. I really appreciate you and the ministry that you have.
Well, you're welcome. And let me tell you why I'm asking that. Because in the beginning, I asked you if you thought that you were positive, right? And so, see, positive things
Yes,
can
sir.
happen. You remember that. You remember that when you go negative on me next time. All right.
I'm going to work at it.
You're going to work at it. It's going to work because we know that happens. Okay. And
Yes,
one of the reasons, thank you for your call, Jenny. One of the reasons that we know that happens is if you're a person of faith, then one of my favorite passages is so awesome. It's so awesome. It basically is one of the only places that I know of in the Bible where we're actually given a formula for how to find God's will. Everybody says, how do you know God's will? I don't know what I'm going to do. And then, it's one of the few places, and I would have to really be hard pressed to think of what the other one or two might be. I mean, there's principles, but this is one where it actually says it. It's in Romans 12. And it says this, that you start out by, presenting ourselves. God, here I am. I'll do what you tell me. I'll do what you show me. Here I am. I'm available. And it says we present ourselves, okay, as a living sacrifice, not my will, but thine. What do all the 12-steppers say when they want to get unaddicted? Turning themselves over, my life and will to God, as I understand them, right? That's what they say. Help me. So there's a help me, I'm stuck. Help me, I think I remember that Joni Mitchell song. Help me, I'm stuck. And then it says, by the transforming of your mind. And then it ends that in verse 2 by saying, it says, don't be conformed. Don't have your thinking shaped by a negative father or a family or the economy or the news. Are you kidding me how cheap it is to people to shape your thinking? They don't have to pay a penny to ruin your life. Doesn't cost them anything to give you negative advice, tell you it can't be done, say stupid things like, well, it takes money to make money, or that never really works for anybody, or I tried that. That didn't cost them a penny to ruin your life. Well, it costs you everything when you listen to it. And that passage starts out by, do not be conformed, squeezed, molded, shaped. Don't be shaped by the patterns, it says, that are out there in this world. Don't you let that negativity get inside your skull. Don't let it. First thing, after asking God, show me I'm available, then he says, well, if you're going to listen to me, then you can't listen to all that crap. Don't listen to it. Boundaries. Do not let it affect you. Stop it. And then it says this, instead of being conformed, it says, by the transforming of your mind. Now I've got to learn to think in new ways. Somebody said I was junk. God says he don't make no junk. He says I'm his workmanship, created for good stuff. Ephesians 2:10. You are his piece of art that he's made to do some really cool stuff. So it says, don't be conformed, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's what we're talking about here, changing the way you think. And then it says, and then you will know the perfect will of God. How can we know what's perfect for us to be doing in any situation or pursuing if we're thinking a bunch of crap that from people that weren't even interested in how our lives went? Think about it. Some of you parents, when you say to your teenagers, look, I'm going to give you some advice here. You do really well if you follow this advice and not follow that negative peer group that's telling you, oh, just sniff this. It'll feel good. Or don't go out for the team. You know how the coaches only like, or you tell your kids this all the time. Don't be conformed by the peer group that's negative. And what do we try to do? We try to get them to have really good peer groups where they are transformed into a positive life. So that's what God wants for you too. Okay, let's go back to the phone.